Hello, and welcome to Soccer Talk with Nick. This is my first episode doing this, and what this essentially is I'm a former soccer coach who still loves to follow the game. I watch a lot of European soccer and love to talk about soccer and kind of like what I'm seeing in the games, both tactically and just kind of like overall trends. And so this is just going to give me an opportunity to kind of talk about some of those things that I enjoy watching for whenever I'm watching the game. And, I think there's some other people out there that kind of like this stuff as well. So we'll see. Today we're going to be covering the Euro semifinals and Copa America semifinals to a little extent. And let's go ahead and start off with the Spain versus France game. And I think, I thought it was a great game. It was a little bit not what I expected in the first half. I thought France came out and they were aggressive. And I kind of expected them to kind of sit in and kind of feel the game out. But I think they tried to take Spain by surprise and, start on the front foot. And I think, obviously they did that with scoring that goal. I think that was their first goal from open play that they scored. That wasn't an own goal or penalty or anything, which is kind of crazy to think about, that they made it this far without scoring from open play. But it was a great goal. I think just before that, I think it was Ruiz for Spain had missed a pretty good opportunity. And I kind of wondered at the time, when he missed that opportunity, like, is this going to be one of those days for Spain where, they create chances, they have the ball, and kind of like what we've seen from them in the past few years is they're just not able to convert those chances. And so, especially when France scored that first goal, I really thought, okay, now France is going to be able to sit in and defend and make this really hard for Spain. And to be honest, I wasn't really looking forward to what that was going to look like. And fortunately, I think for all of us, Lamine Yamal came on, and really, I think everyone kind of knew about him. Everyone had been talking about him, but really he put a stamp on the tournament with that wonderful goal where, I don't know if you saw, but I guess Rabiot from France had kind of made some comments about how he needed to do more, and he definitely did more, and he did it, facing up Rabiot, which I think was some poetic justice there, and again, a great bit of skill on the shot and the goal, created a little bit of space, and it really finished it really well. I think, I don't know how far out it was, but, often you see those and, they go way over or it's straight at the keeper, and that was a great finish, I thought. And then I think the other thing that I really noticed with Spain was the fact that they were forced to play Olmo from the start. Dani Olmo really gave them a different dynamic than some of their other midfielders, where he really is kind of more of a number 10. He is number 10 for them. But he really likes to kind of be dangerous when he gets in between the lines and take more chances than maybe some of their other midfielders. He's got more of a goal scoring threat, and I think that's something they've missed since the days of Iniesta and Fabregas. Those were kind of their midfield players that could kind of really link midfield and attack to create those chances and even score goals themselves. Normally their midfielders don't score goals, so I think obviously he got the goal. We can debate on whether or not that was an own goal or not, but I think it was a great bit of skill and a great shot. And maybe it was going in, maybe it wasn't, but I think Spain deserved to go ahead based on kind of the way they responded to going down. And then I really thought, okay, good. We've got a 2-1 game still in the first half. This is going to really force France to kind of come out of their shell and show what they have. Spain's not one for really like sitting back and defending. They'll try to kill the game by keeping the ball, but I thought France had the players to be able to break that up and kind of the athleticism to maybe hit them on the break. And you really saw kind of the drawbacks of the way France has kind of set up the past couple of years, where it's really been based more on the defensive side of the game and like being strong and athletic, and maybe not the most creative or technically gifted players. So you saw that with their midfield. It was very, very solid midfield, but there was no one in there that was really going to like play the killer pass. And even in their front three, I think obviously outside of Mbappe, who didn't have a great tournament overall, you didn't really think Dembele was going to score, or what's the Colo? I'm forgetting his name at this moment, but the guy they had at center forward, like you weren't really banking on one of them to score, and that's kind of how it played out. They kind of huffed and puffed. They brought Griezmann on, and he really didn't have an impact. I don't think he had a great tournament. He's getting a little bit older. I'm not sure exactly how old he is, but he did not look as good as he has in past tournaments. And I think the other players they didn't really have anyone on the bench that I think could come on and be that difference maker. There are other players that they brought on, Barcola. I think he's kind of like a Kingsley Coman volume 2. He's young, he's athletic. He gets in dangerous positions, but like the in ball isn't normally there. He's probably not going to score you a goal. Maybe he creates something off a cross, but he's not the finished product maybe yet. And same for Marcus Thuram. I think he's a good player, but is he like kind of the level you need to make it to the finals in one of these tournaments? I don't think so, and I think that's why they didn't turn to him. They brought on Giroud, and I think Giroud's been a great professional over the years, but I think again age is kind of catching up with him, and he just kind of looked like he really couldn't get in the flow of the game, and you have to give a large part of the credit to Spain. With their subs, I was kind of worried that it was going to come back to bite them, because they took off some of their dangerous players. They brought on more midfielders to try to kill the game off by keeping the ball. And I think when they did that against Germany in the quarterfinal, it almost did bite them in the butt. They almost did go behind because, they didn't have that cutting edge up front. But in this game, again, they were able to do it. France had the one chance with Mbappe when he was played through, and I think most of us were surprised that he didn't do better with that. Like, if you kind of freeze the game and ask me to put money on whether or not he would score, I probably would have put money on him scoring, just based on, especially based on what he did in the World Cup final 2 years ago. So I think that was a surprise that he didn't do better with that chance, but that was really all France threatened. Like, that was really their one chance after the goal. And Spain, I think, were deserved winners, and I'm excited to see them in the final against England. So I think the England-Netherlands game, going into it, I kind of went back and forth on who I thought would come out ahead. Obviously England has a super talented squad. They have experience, making to the finals last time around in the Euros, but they hadn't really like clicked into gear. But they had those moments where they were able to, do enough to advance. And as much criticism as Southgate has gotten, I think people forget that in the tournament, it's not a season. You're not a club coach. You're not really able maybe to develop like a super well-defined style. And the most important thing is just getting results. And so I think he's, for the most part, done that. I think people were disappointed with the World Cup 2 years ago, but last Euros and obviously this Euros, he's gotten to the finals. So, I definitely have my critiques of him, but you can't really argue with getting to two consecutive finals. And that being said, I thought the Netherlands would maybe cause them more trouble because they had scored so many goals in the tournament. They were kind of the one team, I guess, aside from Spain that had been scoring goals. They hadn't had to go into extra time to advance. They'd been able to score goals in regular time. And so I just kind of thought, England has struggled to score goals. Netherlands have been able to score goals. Is that going to be the difference here? Is Netherlands going to be able to pull something out of nothing? And they did at the beginning, right? Like Xavi Simons dispossesses Declan Rice, is able to just essentially muscle him off the ball, and then a great finish from him. Pickford probably could have done better there. I think he's not my cup of tea, but he normally gets the job done. But he did not look confident on that shot. Kind of looked like he tripped and was just falling down and threw his arms at it, and it didn't really get a good dive to stop that. But still a great finish to be able to keep that down and on frame as he's falling down. So I thought that was a great goal, and again I was excited because I thought that would force England to start to attack, and they did, and they got the penalty with the Harry Kane incident, and I've seen some debate on whether that should have been a penalty or not. I say it's probably a penalty. Like he takes a shot. Dumfries has his studs up, kind of showing, and I think Landon Donovan, the commentator, made the point that if that happens anywhere else on the field, we're not debating if that's a foul or not. We're debating if that's a yellow card or a red card, and so I think probably a clear penalty on that one, and he puts that away, finishes that, and then after that, I kind of expected England to sit back and be cautious and kind of hold that for a little bit, and they kind of built on that goal and kept attacking, and I really was surprised that they weren't able to add the second goal. I think the one time they were able to get someone in behind the Netherlands back line was with Foden. The ball gets cleared off the line, and I really thought they needed more of that. There were a couple times where they had players on the ball in space, kind of 40, 45 yards out, so the line hadn't dropped too deep. There was still space to play in behind. And there were a couple times that I just noticed that Kane and Bellingham were just very stagnant and kind of wanting the ball played into their feet. And there wasn't that player that was looking to run in behind. There was one in particular where Saka gets the ball and is able to beat a man and is kind of running across the field and looking for one of those players to make a run in behind that he can play that pass. And everyone was very stagnant. And so I kind of thought, England is having this possession. They're kind of getting in good areas. But they're not able to capitalize it. Is this going to come back to bite them? And for most of the second half, it looked like that was going to be the case. As the second half wore on, Netherlands got more and more confident. They were having more of the ball. I really think the fact that Memphis Depay had to go out in the first half really hindered their attacking ability. Because you could see they really didn't have much. Like everything was kind of going through Xavi Simons, and he was just getting kind of running down blind alleys and getting isolated, and there wasn't really many chances that they actually created. And I think if they had Depay, maybe that would have taken some of the load off Xavi. Cody Gakpo scored a bunch of goals and has had a pretty good tournament, but I didn't think he was getting involved enough and able to really contribute to creating chances and being dangerous attacking. So, England kind of played it smart. They were able to defend very well while the Netherlands had the ball. And then credit to Southgate, he made the changes that really, I think, the game was calling out for, right? Like, they needed someone that was going to run in behind, especially on the counter. And I think it was smart to bring on Watkins instead of Tony. Like, he's more that type of player. If you watched him at all for Aston Villa this year, he scored lots of goals that looked very similar to the goal he scored there, where he's making that run in behind and someone finds him and he's able to kind of finish at a tighter angle, or as he's running onto a ball, he's able to finish those very well. And so I thought the game was really calling out for a player like him, and Southgate recognized that, and it paid off. And I think, looking at it, I think these are probably the best two teams, in the tournament, and probably the best once everyone got out of the group stage and we kind of saw how the brackets lined up. This probably would have been my pick for the most probably entertaining final. I kind of, with the Spain Germany game, I thought whoever won that game would probably go on to win it. I think Spain was the better team there, and so I think Spain and England will be a great final, and really looking forward to it. So we'll talk more about that next week. I do want to talk a little bit about Copa America, because I've kind of been following that a little bit as well. I didn't really watch much of the Canada-Argentina semifinal. I kind of figured Argentina would prevail in that one, and they did. I checked in a few times, and it didn't look like Canada was really threatening too much. It looked like a pretty comfortable win for Argentina. I did see where Drake put I think it was a $300,000 bet on Canada winning that game, and the Argentinian FA did a brilliant job responding to that after the game. I don't know if you saw, but you should look it up their Twitter or X post. Put up a picture of the score, a picture of Drake's tweet with the bet, and simply just said "not like us," which, if you followed at all the Kendrick Drake beef, I thought was pretty clever. So well done to the Argentinian FA on that one. I got a kick out of that. My buddy Ryan let me know about that one, and yeah, got a good little laugh out of that one. So the other semifinal, I think, was what everyone was expecting from a Copa America semifinal. We had Colombia and Uruguay, and I had watched a little bit of those teams play before. I watched the Colombia-Brazil game, which I think was the last group game for both those teams. And I had watched, obviously, the Uruguay-USA game and some of the Uruguay-Brazil game as well. And I kind of thought, based on that Colombia was maybe slight favorites. They just looked more dangerous. Uruguay was just so kind of destructive in the way they played. I wasn't sure if they were going to be able to create goals, and that's kind of how it turned out. I don't think you could have expected the way it was going to turn out, with Colombia taking the lead and then having a man sent off right before halftime. I think as soon as the second half started, I kind of wondered, there wasn't space for Darwin Nunez to run in behind, which I think hurt Uruguay. And I just wondered, would they be able to come up with a solution to a team that was just happy to sit back and defend their lead with 10 men? And, they at first they were creating chances, half chances, I would say. They were getting the ball into dangerous areas, but they didn't really create anything clear cut until Suarez came on, Luis Suarez, and he hit the post. And I can't remember if they made that change first, and then Colombia made the change to bring on Yerry Mina and go to 5 at the back, and that really, I kind of closed the game off. After that, Colombia was able to get pressure out wide and kind of stop a lot of those balls coming in, and Uruguay really didn't have any other solutions that they could come up with to really create chances. And then I really don't know what happened at the end of the game. Uruguay maybe just felt like deflated because they hadn't been able to score, and they really started kind of making some kind of bonehead plays, giving the ball away. And Colombia could have scored 2 more goals at the end, even after playing down a man for the whole second half. And somehow, I think it was Arias who had both those chances, and somehow he didn't score either one of them. But Colombia did enough to, I think, to go on, and I definitely don't think Uruguay did enough to win that game, obviously. So I think that'll be a great final. If you watched any of Colombia, James Rodriguez has been great. He's kind of to me, like a throwback to kind of the 90s, like South American playmakers, maybe like a Valderrama or Echeverry with the left foot that I remember kind of watching growing up. That just kind of were able to play these magical through balls and dangerous on set pieces and that sort of stuff, and just kind of crafty. Not the most athletic, not gonna run around and make a bunch of tackles, but is still gonna make a huge impact on the game. So I think it'll be a great final for that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to Sunday. I think that'll be 2 great games. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. And I'll be back next week with some coverage on the 2 finals. So yeah, thanks, and we'll see you next week.